Greetings and welcome back. This is Nexus Gaming News. Oh wait, I changed this. This is not updated.
Honestly, I'd use that as the intro and then just and then we'll do the bah.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone. I'm Garrett Weinzerl here as always with Kyle Ferguson, and a bit of a title change today as well. We're going to start calling this the Nexus Grind for the foreseeable future, as both, you, Kyle, and myself we're really enjoying Final Fantasy XIV, and it would appear that many of you enjoy following along with our experience, as we get to know Eorzea. Me a little more than you, Kyle. You're kind of already moved in. I feel like you don't have that many more boxes to unpack.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But you did it. You did the Praetorium.
Apparently, I was warned that it's a bit of a slog. I went in with my guard up. The slog didn't come in the form that I expected. Once again, Kyle, I, as a World of Warcraft refugee, when I hear, oh, it's going to be a slog, I go, oh, it's going to be a lot of trash. It's gonna be a lot of trash and mobs, because I knew this is essential. It was, because it's not. I shouldn't use past tense because mofos still run this thing like crazy. This was the shortest queue I've had for anything so far.
Yes, it is a well-regarded little dungeon run because it awards a lot of tombstones, is my understanding. And you can put on Netflix in the background, so you don't have to pay attention. So they call it Netflix and chill, Netflix roulette. There's a whole number of different phrases that encapsulate what the Praetorium is and why it's great for points.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten into any of that. This is my first time through the MSQ. I have to do it to move on. So getting back to that, like all, you and other friends of mine that, are much more seasoned than you or I am with Final Fantasy, they were saying, hey, just so you know, when you get the Praetorium, it's kind of exciting as your first raid, but also no, it's kind of slow. It's kind of a slog. And like I was saying, the slog did not present itself in the way I'd expected, which I, coming from WoW, I thought it was going to be trash. But no, it came about because of age-old Final Fantasy trope that I had honestly forgotten about, but cutscenes. It is just a cutscene palooza in this freaking raid, and I have no idea. I have so many questions of a technical nature that I have not bothered to go research, but in a game where it's felt like as someone who's been over level basically the entire time I've been doing the MSQ, I've been seeing you're going to be leveled down to a maximum of whatever, and you're not going to be able to use half of your abilities and yada, yada, yada. I guess that doesn't happen in the Praetorium because we were just melting shit like crazy. It just felt like taking 5 steps between cutscenes.
It is. It's a madhouse. Personally, my experience in the Castrum Meridium, the Castrum, right before it, the one you did before this with the airships that were randomly crashing.
Castrium, milk, whatever. I don't know.
It was complete chaos. It was absolute chaos. And this I found to be way more sane because at least the cutscenes were long enough that I could get my bearings. However, I almost died multiple times because I didn't click the elevator fast enough, didn't click the key fast enough, and got left behind.
So my experience with that was I did actually go looking up guides before I went into this. I was like, all right, I just did Castrium and I felt useless, but also boss fights didn't take all that long, so it didn't really end up being a huge issue. But I knew the Praetorium was going to be longer. So I went and looked up guides, and I could not find any guides that actually told me what the bosses did. The guides were just like, hey, newbie, here's the guide. Keep up and click these things so that you don't die. That was it. Every guide I found, it said nothing about the bosses. It was just how to keep up as tanks essentially skip trash.
It's a bad
Which
house.
makes sense. Yeah, we cleared it a few times. You've got my footage up if you're watching on video. And so, yeah, there were a few times where we cleared trash and, took the time, but it didn't take much time at all. And none of this is really a complaint. It was interesting, my expectations set by other players and then going in and actually having the experience, because no one really explained that it took long because of the cutscenes. I assumed it was going to be more of a just kind of a gameplay slog, but yeah, it really just comes down to the cutscenes, which this I did look into. You can't skip ever
No.
I guess. Like, even if every single damn person currently running it has done it before, you can't skip these cutscenes. And also clicking doesn't advance the text like it does in normal cutscenes so far.
But you can imagine why. It's it's the climax of a Realm Reborn, and people are using it to farm. So naturally what would happen is the baby gate, they call it, the little sort of circle you can't leave, would go up. Everyone would start typing about how so-and-so's not going fast enough, so-and-so needs to skip, and pressures would build across, 45 minutes to an hour as people slowly go insane because they know they can't advance. Instead, what they've done is forced everybody to sit through it, and so people mute and watch Netflix. And it's not a big deal. And as you mentioned, your climax was very queuable. You got to just say, hey, I'm ready for the end. Please, let's do the Praetorium, and it happened.
Yeah, it is super unique to anything I've really experienced in any other MMO. And I think overall, in a good way. Like, I think it's really cool. I've seen some criticism from some other folks that, have limited game time. That's like, I wish I wasn't forced into grouping up, and I can understand that. But at the same time, again, coming from other MMOs, looking at you, World of Warcraft, you just skip all the story. It's really kind of... I know everything that's going on in World of Warcraft because I've played it since the beginning, but when I've had friends come in at various steps along the way of the various many years that game has existed, I got to fill them in. They have no idea what the hell's going on. Because once you hit a certain level, in that game, you're told by every guide in existence and players, oh, you're good, move on to the next expansion. You can just be like, but wait, what happened with Illidan? But wait, what happened with Arthas? You don't know. So here, while it might be, I could see where you might find it odd, and I find it odd, but not in a bad way, that you're like forced to do this old content and you can't skip the cutscenes or any of that. They seem to have found a pretty good, like, symbiotic way to do this, where it's still worth it for seasoned players to go back and revisit this content, and therefore the queues are still extremely manageable for new players who have to do this content to move on. It's, I don't know. I don't know. It should sound insane, and but like, it should sound insane to say what a novel idea, making players play through the story, but it really does feel that way to me.
It's, at some point, we're going to do our WoW versus Final Fantasy versus WoW, and both have amazing features that I wish the other had. The decoupling of dungeons from story is one of the greatest mistakes that WoW ever made, and allowing players to get to max level without experiencing any sort of MMO-isms is frankly insane. So the fact that you are thrust into a raid scenario like this, even if it is full of tradition and things you don't understand going on, and farming and speed running, it still just gives you that out of your shell moment that you need to grow and participate in the world as a role player or just as a player in general. I'm a tank, and the fact that I've been forced to tank this many things along my road to max level is very, very healthy.
Yeah. And what you talked about where, it's kind of a speed run, and it is. I mean, these bosses went down so fast. I even died once. I'm not even sure how, if we end up showing the footage. I'm sure someone will point it out. But again, my brain just started firing off with comparisons of the other MMOs I played, and just kind of dissecting the decisions made here to, again, make players play through this. And it's like, yeah, like maybe, if we all wanted to sit around and have a discussion about what would be the perfect way for a new player experience, well, it'd probably be something a little slower where you actually get to kind of experience the boss fight and learn the mechanics. But like overall, again, when I talked about that kind of like that symbiosis between seasoned players and new players, both, kind of one being forced to and one being incentivized to play this, like, I think they really have landed on something that works for like the long term.
It would be great if this had a legitimate challenge to it. It felt like it was an event. I found that happening constantly throughout my smaller party, my 4-man groups, when I was doing the actual duties and dungeons. These sort of farm opportunities are not that, and yeah, it's a little disappointing that maybe your climax didn't have an edge of difficulty.
Yeah, which I think to a certain degree, like knowing how MMOs work, and I don't feel as great of a pull to get to endgame as I do in something like WoW. It's still there. Like I want to play with my friends, and I know I can, but like I want to play with them in new stuff or current stuff. So I am still excited to get there, but not nearly to the extent I've been in something like Warcraft. And so, yeah, overall too, like the other thing that really hit me, and this has kind of been hitting me over and over again with Final Fantasy, is just how damn video gamey it feels. Like, and I know that probably sounds a little weird, but like, I don't know, getting to this raid and it's just being like, oh, all of the baddies you've seen so far, let's trot them out like it's a Ninja Turtles beat 'em up. Like, I loved it. It was great. It was like, cool. I've seen this person, conniving in the shadows, and I've seen this person being a jerk and a bastard, and I got to fight them all. I got to fight Nero. I got to fight Gaius. I got to fight the Ultimate Weapon. We even got to like save our buddy from having a way cooler costume in that black robe.
Yes. Yeah, it's something that Final Fantasy does very well, and sometimes it's frightening how fast they can introduce a character, make you care, and then do something with them in the story. Whereas many other RPGs tend to just let
just
that
say
go
WoW.
by.
I know you're thinking about WoW.
I'm talking about all RPGs here. Like your Diablos, your BioWares, there's a lot of throwaway side characters that don't get used again, general guardsmen that you don't know the names of, and here you're going to learn their names. I mean, for instance, right here on screen, we have you meeting again your robot mount, which has like some kind of emotional elemental connection to you. Is that essential to the plot? Probably not, but it's a nice touch.
Yeah. Oh, the Magitech armor. You're talking about that thing that essentially becomes like a loyal dog.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so. Again, it was like weird. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Whatever. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. And by the end, I was like feeling a weird sense of kinship for this animate object.
Yeah,
I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Like overall. Yeah. Both. Like parts of my brain, like the interesting game design decisions, like that was firing off, plus like having some guard up for Praetorium. I was still hoping for like kind of a anime ass ending, and I definitely got that. Like some
Yes,
of these,
yes, you did,
dude. Some of these set pieces, they were really freaking good. They're like the way this game, like in this final act of like, what do people refer to this as, like OG Realm Reborn? Because you get credits roll, and I know you have to go through all the Realm Reborn patches after this before moving on to the expansion. It feels like, oh yeah, I beat Realm Reborn, and now it's time for Realm Reborn, like, patch time or whatever. Because again, they literally roll credits.
It's a big credit deal too. Like they make a whole show of it, and it's kind of nice to feel like you beat something in an MMO.
Yeah, that's another kind of unique feeling, right? In this final act, like there's multiple times where I'm just like, wow, that was the coolest explosion I've ever seen in an MMO.
It's that thing that fog or blur they do around the explosions or a monster roaring that really kind of gives it that energy, and I just really dig it.
Yeah, there's like when you get to the end of the Ultimate Weapon fight, and Thancred, like, does Thancred detonate, or I think it detonates itself or whatever, like, and it just destroys everything. No, it's Thancred, because there's like a MacGuffin stored in the Ultimate Weapon, and Thancred like detonates it, and smoke clears, and it's just like everything's destroyed, and you're standing in this giant circle of fire. I didn't know it's what I wanted, but it was exactly what I wanted. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, cool, this feels super badass. And it's just, I don't know, it's nice. It's nice to kind of like, I like everything. I love like weird shades of gray. Are they good? Are they bad? Or whatever. But I'm really, so far, it's refreshing, and it's nice to come to Final Fantasy, and it's just like, you are good, they are bad. Let's fight the bad guys.
Did you not enjoy the final boss, which isn't the final boss actually, but Gaius going Super Saiyan for you, even though it didn't have the power difficulty it perhaps had in the past? it was still a great moment.
Oh, when his freaking armor turns gold.
Yes, when Warframe goes gold. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's wonderful. And also just the elevator. You want to talk about like video game. Again, it's like I wasn't expecting to think of Ninja Turtle fighting games, but yeah, you know, Gaius appears and you're on the endless elevator. It's great. It really just it as someone who didn't grow up playing Final Fantasy, it is triggering a lot of like childhood gaming nostalgia for me.
Absolutely. There's few better ways to put it than a video game. We see this in Resident Evils. We see this in Metal Gear Solids. There's just something that's so campy, but joyous about it.
Yeah. No, I keep when I'm talking to friends, like, and this has even come up in the last few episodes. Like when I'm talking about this game, I keep using the term like hammy or corny, and I mean it with all of the endearment I possibly can, because it is hammy, it is corny, but I think that's a big part of the charm to all of it. You know, as I'm not the biggest anime fan in the world, but it's scratching that itch. I have those ones that I like, and I love when you just get over dramatic.
Gaius certainly is over dramatic.
Oh yes. So yeah, I mean, set pieces are great. I think this is the best the game has looked so far. Like I feel I'm finally seeing what everyone's been talking about in the comments, which is like, no, it'll get there. It gets pretty. Don't worry, because some of the stuff happened in these cutscenes. It just looks great.
People do a really good job of not overhyping it, but there are elements in the between patches that already have made me go, oh, wow. Oh, this was nothing. And that's really exciting because for an MMO, even the models being this active is quite refreshing.
That's a good point.
You know, no, but Gaius didn't jump from a upper area with a kind of float and his arms out to the side and then land, and you sort of saw him clip into the next animation while he started heading towards you. It was a performance. It was planned out.
Yeah, again, it's like I have so little experience playing Final Fantasy. I played a lot of 10, and that was kind of it for me. But this reminds me of it. It obviously, like, thank God there's no random encounters or anything. That was something that really kind of killed Final Fantasy for me growing up. These just like these dramatic present villains, and just kind of the theatrics of it all. It's very, very present.
How interesting an MMO is made of people and characters, and this one's full of people and characters.
It damn well is.
So you went through the bosses. You went through the many, many bosses. What'd you think of the ending? Oh, dude. Listen, I loved rewatching Return of the Jedi and all over again, but with anime. It's a good ending. So, you know, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
This was the most Star Wars ass ending I've seen in a long time. Again, it's like this thing where like this game keeps making me think of things that I don't expect to think of while playing it. And I think it was last episode we talked about like some of the in-game references, and that's fine, and that's on the nose. But multiple times, the ending of Castrium no, it's not the end of Castrium, it's the end of Praetorium when you escape on the Magitech armor. There's just 1-to-1 getting out of the Death Star. It is 100% the end of Return of the Jedi. The only thing that was missing was the Yahoo at the end. That's all they needed.
Okay, I forgot. I kind of forgot about you running on your new sentient mount down, which they give to you right after, by the way, which is fabulous, and it flies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I saw it. I did go past a little bit, and I was like, all right, what's the next quest to kind of tease up, the next leg of things. So I was like, oh yay, I'm back in Vesper Bay, but it doesn't look like we're going to be there for long, which makes me very happy.
Yeah, no, you've got that thing. It's now in your inventory, mount selection. Enjoy it. It has a whole flying mode. It's great, but. Yeah, I didn't really make the connection about the exploding down the tunnel, Lando and the Millennium Falcon business.
Yeah, well, that happened. I'm like, okay, this needed a woohoo, and then its turn to the Star Wars side would be complete. But the other thing that absolutely was just like, oh, we're just back in Return of the Jedi was like that credit sequence. Like everyone's palling around. All it needed was the Ewok Yub Nub song.
Yes. It was rightfully cheesy. I like that they teed up a little bit that there's more to come in the actual, final cutscene there. What really impressed me in an emotional way was like just the size of the credits and the thanking of players who played the original. That was really cool.
Oh, is that what like the secondary and like third? There were so many credits like after the. Essentially the part with like the cinematic where you're watching everyone kind of deal with Gaius's death and all of that. There were extra credits on like black backgrounds that you had to individually skip. Was that the one because it was like the survivors of Meteor or whatever?
Right, exactly. And all the names were weird, and so that's what prompted me to look up what's going on.
That I figured that was the case. I'm coming in hot. Like I just finished Praetorium like an hour ago before this recording, so I didn't have a chance to go look that up. So I'm glad. I figured that was the case. So I'm happy to know that that's exactly what that was. Yeah. So overall, like I'm definitely in, man. Like I'm just gonna keep playing this game.
Yeah, but why would you stop now?
Yeah. So I think my my path to the Final Fantasy side is complete.
Well, I look forward to talk to you about the upcoming patch missions, of which there are 3 stories, one of which I do not give a damn about, and one of which I think is damn awesome.
Do I get to go? Don't overly spoil. Do I get to go hang out with like city leaders again? Because I miss hanging out with the pirates in Lemsa.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. There's a bit of table action, yeah.
After this big operatic ending, I'm like, boy, I want to just go back and hang out with like the bartender in Lemsa.
Pray, return to the sands first.
I did already.
Oh, well then you're on.
Everyone was clapping for me. They were so proud. They were like proud parents at a t-ball game.
You're the hero of the world, man. Nice job.
Well, rad. Well, let me know, folks, what how would you tee up what's about to come from a Realm Reborn? You don't need to overhype me or anything, and I'm not super averse to spoilers because honestly, there's been a few things I've seen where people are like, "Shh, spoilers," and I'm like, I don't. If it is a spoiler, I don't understand anything that was just typed.
I don't know that person. I don't know that name or. It's fine.
Yeah. So I appreciate the concern, everyone, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. So yeah, let me know how would you tee up what's about to come, and also. What should I go do now that's not a really blatant part of the MSQ? Any blue quests I should definitely go do. I've already gotten Glamour. I've already gotten Dyes. I've done that stuff. I just the other day went and apparently I could have done this a while ago. Went and got it. Did the quest where I can make my Chocobo fight for me.
Oh yeah,
which I love, by the way. I love that I can do that. I've become very attached to my Chocobo. But yeah, let me know what I should go. What housekeeping should I do before I push through into the rest of the Realm Reborn patches? But I think that's going to wrap it up for this edition of what we are now calling the Nexus Grind. If you want to get in touch with us outside of these uploads, follow Kyle on Twitter at Kyle Ferguson. I can be found at Garrett Art. And of course, as always, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. We upload now Wednesday mornings. If that hasn't already become apparent, that's our new upload day. Gives us a little bit of extra time for editing. And for our podcast listeners, please don't forget to subscribe if you are streaming the podcast version. It's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Nexus Grind. And until next time, good luck and have fun, everyone.